Good evening, everybody. It is October 21st, 2022. We're going to jump into Bitcoin's action here. First up, what I said on Monday. I said, assuming we top out soon, this was right around the time we were at the 19.6 region, we should see a move down to 18.6 to 19.1 to retest or take out the weekend's lows before getting a bounce. And as you can see, that's what we did, basically. Right here is when the Monday video came out, and I said, it should probably get to about 19.8. It didn't quite do that. It got to 19.7, but that's pretty darn close. Got to 19.7 and then came down. My range was 19.1 to 18.6, and you can see we got to 18,655. So beautiful push down into that region, and so far a very nice looking bounce up as well. So let me bring this back here. My main scenario was, as I said, that we were going to top out around that 19.8, move down to 18.6 or so, and then move up to 20 to 21. So that's what I'm waiting on now. From there, I think it is quite possible that we are still going sub 18K. I'm open to the possibility that it's not going to do that, and that's this scenario here. So if we can see a very strong move through that danger zone and make 5 waves up to 23K, then I'm going to say, the bottom's probably already in at that point in time. But until that happens, I'm still expecting sub 18 after we go to that 20 to 21 area. This immediate bearish scenario, I think, is pretty much out. I mean, we could still be seeing corrective bounces, but the wave count that I was looking at, like an impulsive wave down, is not supported any longer. So we can remove this as written and, kind of consider maybe a different bear scenario instead, but we do not have an impulsive move down. And then I just noted in the final picture, or in the big picture again, that we are very likely coming to the end of the macro bear market that started in April 2021, and we should be ready soon to start the next bull run, which should take us over 100K. And the only way that becomes unlikely is if 15.7 breaks. So we're still on track for that as of right now. All right, so let's go over the action. As I said, we hit this 19.7 region, didn't quite hit the 19.8 that I thought we might get. That's all right, it was close enough. This then completed an A and a B right here, and we were waiting for this C wave to complete, which I think we did earlier today. Now, technically, this looks more like a 3-wave move down, so instead of labeling this ABC, I really should label it WXY. Doesn't really change anything for us, except for my OCD wanting it to be correct. Technically a C wave should be 5, and all we have is 3. So that is a WXY down instead. It's perfectly fine, nothing wrong with that. And let me just make this slightly smaller here. Okay. So there we have it, ABC up in X and ABC down in Y. And that is likely the end of that correction there. So the question then, between the two scenarios, first let me make this, whoops, this is the bear scenario, I'm going to get rid of that. Let me make this small, and I only want to see that on the minute chart. Okay. So the question is, are we in? Just trying to make these kind of match up here. The yellow in parentheses here, or are we in the green in parentheses? Those are the two possibilities, basically. So yellow says that this is an A wave, and let me move this back here. Okay, so that's an A wave. This is a B wave. And then we're going to get one more move up here for a C wave up into that danger zone. Let me make sure that danger zone is correct now that we have a slightly lower low. This actually moves down slightly. So danger zone lines up with this larger danger zone I had drawn on here before as well. So we're looking at 19.7 to 20.9 basically. So again, you know, what I said was 20 to 21K, and that is still what it's looking like right there, about somewhere in that region, 20 to 21K. There's the 764 is at 20,000, the 1236 is at 20,900. So somewhere in that region is quite likely to be the top of this C wave, and that would be part of this greater Y wave here, W up off of this low that we struck, X down here, and then Y back up to challenge and probably break these highs, but it's still just going to be a bull trap, and then we head down here. That is the yellow scenario, and that would be an even larger degree than A, B, and C downwards is how we would count that. To finally finish off this correction. And remember, Bitcoin did not actually hit this target. This was my ideal target. We came in a bit shy of it. So that's why I'm leaning towards this. Plus all of this action is incredibly choppy so far. So I am leaning towards that still as the most likely scenario. However, if the bulls can put in 5 waves, which I have in green, and I can modify now that we have a new low, this would be our first wave in green. This is our second wave here. And then we're going to be looking for a third wave to go at a minimum to about 21,000. Well, a minimum would be 21.1. Ideally would be 21.6. Followed by a little pullback to the mid-20s. And then a final push up to about 22.4 would be ideal. So previously, based on this low back here, it was pointing up to 23K. With the new low we struck, 5 waves to about 22.4 is perfectly fine. So let's just call it 22. 5 waves to 22K would tell me a bottom is in already. So let me put a line right here, green line. 5 waves to 22K, bottom is in. All right, so there's our note there about that line. Okay, and that would be following the green scenario. Otherwise, we're looking at, as I said, this danger zone here for potential move down again into the 16 to 17K region. It gets a little dangerous because we're getting close to that 15.7, which is my line in the sand for the bull market to continue. So, you know, we are definitely threading a needle here. If the bulls fail to push this up in 5 waves now, which I think is likely, it is going to be kind of threading the needle, as I said. So, and then we're going to have to draw basically, let's see, A, B, yeah, so from here, this point here, up to wherever B gets us. Best case scenario, it gets us to the very top of that, right around 21K, and then we would be looking for a move somewhere in this region, like 764 is 17.6, the 1.0 extension is 16.6, that's kind of the normal place for this to go. And the 1236 can actually go all the way down to about 15.8, which is getting darn close to that 15.7, but would still technically be okay. So anyway, watching closely the action that forms now. And I am long. I'm back 100% of my cash, or I'm sorry, 90% of my cash is back into crypto at this point, and I'm leveraged long as well. Now my intent with that is probably just to take profits here, but I bought in basically on this wick. So I have plenty of room, unless this just breaks down, of course, but assuming this goes up where I think it's going to, I'll have plenty of room to just set break-even stops and then set stops sort of higher up and just kind of ride it for as long as I can as it goes upwards. And then potentially I go back to cash and buy back in lower again is kind of my plan. But I like that the action has been clear within this unclear structure. We've gotten some pretty clear movements, and I was able to get some really just prime longs on that dip down earlier today. I was buying the crap out of that. So looking good so far. Let's go down real quick just to the micro. I do want to mention the micro at this point is a bit muddy. And there are two possibilities. My primary at this point is, let me put that in like yellow just for this, for clarity's sake. This kind of looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here. So I was viewing that as my first wave. Therefore, that's my second wave. And then somewhere in here we have a micro 1, and we're working on a micro 2 right now. And this actually makes a lot of sense to go to the 618. That's where we usually go for a micro 1. And then 382 is where we normally go for a micro 2. You can see that's what we've done. Obviously, this action in here has been kind of choppy and drawn out. So I can't say it's like the most convincing thing in the world, but so far it has not broken anything. So my expectation for the next movement up, if that is the case, is going to be this third wave up to about 19.7. So assuming we kind of hold, the low that we struck here, which looks probable because this is very corrective looking action. It doesn't look like an impulse down or anything. So I think it is very possible that we do get this. Our next major move, this is going to be 1, 2. We'll get a nice big spike up to about 19.5 if this is correct. Then we can consolidate for a little while longer and then push up there, and that would give us our 5 waves within 3, then another pullback, and then another 5-wave move up to about 19.9. So that's what the bulls need to do in order to prove that the temporary bottom has been struck. That's the path that they should take. Now, if they do that, that would take us to 19.9. Obviously, that's not in that red box yet, so I think that would be, let me just see here. Oh, that is actually in our box, 19.9, right there. So the question then is going to be, how choppy does it want to continue being? Is that going to be 5 waves up in an A wave, then we get a B, then we get a C? If we get something that looks like that, we can be very, very sure that that danger zone is going to reject then from there. Alternately, if we get these 5 waves up, then pull back correctively, and then blast through, that would be obviously a very good sign that this is playing out instead. So that's really what we're going to be watching for, is what kind of action do we get as we approach that danger zone. But the initial move that we should see here should give us about 19.9. So basically, once we get there, I'll set break-even stops. At a minimum, I'll set break-even stops on my positions. Because it's possible, with that being the danger zone there, it is possible that that's all we get, and then we head down from there. And that pretty much would retest that area there, which is kind of what I expected. Honestly, I was expecting it to actually break, so I think in one way or another this is probably going to do, at a minimum, something like that, because I think we should get up higher. But regardless, once we hit 19.9, break-even stops are pretty safe, and then I can ride that higher if it looks, if it does give me that next move up, I can ride it higher. And then again, as we sort of approach that next area, if this starts looking like an A, B, C, where that C wave is equal to the A wave, that means I'm going to get out of my positions and wait for lower. So really that's the question. Once we form these 5 waves, if we hold a corrective pullback, do we get a C wave up that is equal to the first wave, or do we get a really strong wave through the danger zone? That's the only way the bulls can say the bottom is actually in already. All right, I think that pretty much sums everything up. So you guys have a great weekend, and I will talk to you all on Monday.